myself and in my own little vida, you know, as I grew up. But perhaps there's something about what I have to say that might make some sense to any of you. I know that a lot of you are here having a good time in a nice school, and things are good at home. Things will probably be good in the future. You're going to go to college and the whole 9 yards. And that's great. But you know what? In reality, there's some of you in here that have some things going on in your life that you don't talk about. I did. I've had the same situation thinking everything was okay. But I lived in a barrio where there was drogas all around me. Maybe there's nothing around you like that. There is pandillas, gangs around me. Maybe that's not something you're exposed to. My homeboys, when we grew up, we got involved in all kinds of activities. We didn't call it gang life because we didn't see ourselves as gang members. But at a young age, I got recruited. I didn't get into a gang. I wasn't even a wannabe. Somebody who was talking about it and bragging when it didn't really exist. And I know that maybe you know someone who acts like that, who says it and does all kinds of things, you know, to make themselves look like, hey, I'm a little bit of a gangster, and they're nothing, you know, they're nothing. I wasn't even in that capacity. I was just somebody who was growing up with friends and having a good time, but I got recruited. The reason I got recruited is because I had a lot of idle time, and somebody felt that I had some smarts in my head, that I had the ability to do more than just, you know, take some drugs from place to place, make some money, because that wasn't my thing. I wasn't into that kind of stuff. But people looked at me and said, hey, Willie, we could make you into somebody important and special. And I wanted to be important and special. I wanted to do something for my jefita, for my mom, because, you know, she worked hard in the fields. I came from a background where when we came from Mexico, we worked in the fields. I came as a young man. I started school here like when I was about between the 4th and the 5th grade and kept going back and forth from Mexicali and Tijuana, back and forth and back and forth. I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, and I'd go back there. But see, the thing is that I have my own life, and I want to kind of give you some insight, and I'm just going to tell you my story. And maybe it's not your story, but maybe it's something from it that you can draw from and come to conclusions of your own, and maybe it'll help you out. I don't know. I'm not here to save lives. I'm just here to share that maybe you can save your own life. When I came from Mexico, one of the first things that happened to me was my name changed. Everybody, my name in Mexico is Guillermo de Memo. That's the nickname in Mexico. But when I came over here, I remember the very first time I went to school. When I came home, I told my jefita, they don't call me Guillermo anymore. And I didn't understand the English or anything, but they gave me a name. They called me Willie. So when I told my jefita, my mom, they called me Willie, she didn't know how to pronounce it. She never heard of it before. She goes, ¿Y qué es un Winnie? Well, I didn't like that, you know. At first I thought it was a cool name, and then when she started calling me Weenie, she laughed about it. Because when I told her that, she goes, Weenie? And I go, no, Weenie, no, Willie. And she looks at my dad, who's kicking back over there on the couch, and she tells him que mi hijo en la escuela que ya no le dice Guillermo, que le dicen el Weenie. So that's part of the assimilation process. And I remember the very first school I went to. It was up in the mountains here in California. And like I said, as a migrant, you got to realize that you travel. I went to 17 different schools before I graduated from a high school. And I almost didn't graduate. But I did, 17 schools. So I have no recollection of really like close friends when I was growing up. I remember situations and people, but nobody that you can say, hey, you know, I knew these people from first, second, third, they're gone. It wasn't until later in life. But that first school I went to, you know, was a trip, man. I learned things in the school system that I had never experienced before. I learned about discrimination and racism. I didn't know what those words meant. I didn't understand the feeling of it until I arrived here in the Estados Unidos. And you probably jumped to conclusions, but you'll see what I mean. That first school I went to was nothing but white kids in school. I was the only Chicano in that school. I didn't speak any kind of English or nothing, you know, but I understood things that were going on. And as I was hanging out in the school, I remember that I felt like uncomfortable because I was in my own little mesita eating my tacos. And everybody just staring at me. Man, I love my tacos, eh? Oh yeah, taquitos are good. And so I was just kicking back, eating my tacos and my sack lunch, and everybody else was kind of staring at me. And I was intimidated, so I didn't want people to be looking at me like that. So I went out of the cafeteria, and I went someplace isolated where I could eat my tacos in peace. I went to the restroom. I sat down in the toilet seat right there, started eating my tacos, and all the tortilla crumbs falling on the floor. I was thinking, all right, nobody's going to bother me here. Jogging, man. All of a sudden, the kids started pouring into the restroom at some point, and they started looking at me like, whoa, this dude eating tacos in the toilet. That was brutal. So after that, I said, wow, that ain't going to cut it either, man. So the next day, I made a plan. I put a plan in my head, man. And that plan was to leave the classroom as soon as the bell rang, head for the cafeteria, and kick back just for a little bit and chow down really quick and go out. And that way I wouldn't, I would escape all the scrutiny from everybody. And that's what I did. The bell rang. I went down to the cafeteria. I sat down at the little table, and I started eating my taco really fast. But there was a kid in there. There's a little kid out there already sitting at a table of his own. He was there already. And later on, I find out that his name is Red. And everybody called him Red because he had like jet red hair and freckles and was white as a ghost, man. I never seen anybody that white in my life. I kept looking at him, and he kept looking at me, and to me it was kind of scary, man. But I was eating my tacos, and he just kind of looked at me over he had thick glasses, and looking over the frame of his glasses, just eating a sandwich. He puts down his food, and he marches over to my table and points down at my taco. I was taught to share, so I went ahead and got another taco, cut it in half, and I gave it to him. And he started putting it in his mouth. He shoved the whole thing in his mouth, man. He must have liked the taco because the first thing he did was he ran to the water fountain. Well, how was I supposed to know a homeboy didn't like chili? Well, the little homie, man, he was tripping, man. And something really weird happened. I've never seen this in my life. When he went over there, he changed colors. He went from white to red. I wanted to see him do that again. So when he came back, and condenado, he wanted the rest of my taco. But this time I said to myself, I got to check this out, because were my eyes deceiving me? So I went ahead and started getting little pieces of the taco at a time, because I wanted to see him go from white to red, white to red, white to red. So consequently, as a result of that little situation, we kind of became friends. We shared food. He brought me his peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a bunch of other stuff that I had never experienced, man. He had like a little roast beef sandwich. I never eaten a roast beef sandwich. I thought I got over on him because that thing had like a half a cow in it, man.